Hi everyone, welcome to episode 5 of the Learning Curve with Ramya Deepak. This month of September has been a special one for me for the past few years. One of my passionate calling has been to be a voice for mental health challenges and remove the stigma associated with it. As someone who has had her fair share of mental well-being issues and challenges over time, I'm very keen on speaking up about this that affects all of us. To help me amplify my voice, I decided to join the Liptember campaign in 2021, and thus the month of September became quite special. I will take you through the Liptember and what it means to me in a separate episode later. But what I wanted to do this year was uplevel my participation through a series of viewcasts where I interview people who are passionate about this cause as much as I am. In this endeavor, today I'm honored to be joined by Karen Caswell. Karen is an experienced educator, avid reader, and lifelong learner. She is passionate about raising kind, caring, and active young people who know how to advocate for themselves, champion others, and make a positive impact on the world. Leading from the classroom and working supportively within teams, the wider staff, neighboring schools, and a national and international professional network, Karen welcomes the chance to learn from and share from others. In addition to this, she is currently pursuing her diploma of positive psychology and well-being. She has many personal interests such as photography, reading, hiking, writing, and traveling. She's also the host of a podcast called Inspiration, Influence, and Impact, and she's the founder of TLAP Down Under on Twitter. Welcome to the Learning Curve with Ramya Deepak. It's a pleasure to have you, Karen, on our viewcast. Your journey and passion for education and personal growth is truly inspiring. I'd love to explore more about your experiences and insights. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Ramya.
Okay, let's kick off. So, as an experienced educator, could you share a pivotal moment in your career that shaped your approach to teaching and working with young people?
I think probably it was about, I'm going to say 8 years ago now, was a period of disillusionment with teaching. I felt that we'd sort of lost our way. The system had lost their way. There was to me, in my opinion, an overemphasis on data. And just collecting a lot of, it seems as though we were collecting a lot of data for data's sake. And it wasn't really, doing anything with that data or informing us in any way. And I feel that really had a huge impact on student learning because the joy in learning, as a teacher, I wasn't enjoying teaching and the students didn't seem to be enjoying learning. So going through that period of disillusionment made me sort of reflect on what it was I was doing, what was my purpose, why was I in the classroom? And for me, it always has and always will come down to the students and who they are as a person. And whilst I know that obviously all the data we collect in education, we do need to measure student growth in some ways. But I guess it was making that conscious choice myself as to the type of educator I wanted to be, how I wanted my classroom to feel, the types of things that my students were doing and the learning that they were engaging in.
Yeah.
And I guess I started to go back to that and use that to guide me rather than a lot of the other, I felt like noise that was coming from outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually absolutely love the way you just mentioned that and your focus on raising kind, caring, and active young people. So how do you encourage your students to become advocates for themselves and champion others?
So character development is really important to me. Who we are as a person, I think, is obviously has a huge impact on our lives and the lives of those around us. So a lot of those, and, we've called them for years, we've called them soft skills, but we realize now, how vitally important they are to us as people. So that the focus on character, it initially started with a focus on kindness.
Yep.
And then changing it to just that general character development. So who students were, who did they want to be, how could I help them, grow as people. Even things like empathy for others, resilience, persistence, all of those things that help them as a learner but then help them once they leave school and enter the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of a focus, within our learning of English, math, science, and all those
Yeah.
subjects.
Yeah.
There's a huge focus on that aspect.
Mm. So I've been reading bit of your I've been reading your blog post for some time now, but I just refreshed my memories before we were meeting today, and I'm so proud of the way you shared your journey with your mental health challenges and how these experiences became a profound part of your journey. Can you share a little bit about your self discovery journey here?
So I had probably after pregnancy, after having my children, I did have some postnatal depression.
Mm-hmm.
But sort of got through that with some medication and some counselling. And then it would have been 10 years ago now, I think, just had a period of probably would have been situational depression, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. Some things happened, and I found myself not
Mm-hmm.
able to sort of not handle it, but
Yeah.
I just didn't really have any
Yeah.
resources, I suppose, within myself. And over that period of 10 years, I guess the self-discovery has been that learning about myself, who I was,
Yes.
what drove me. I've sort of realized, that perfectionism was my biggest armor,
Mm-hmm.
and then how that actually never helped me. It hindered me, and the people pleasing. I
Yeah.
didn't ever really have a voice for myself. I sort of would suppress my own needs and wants, would never express that. And it all sort of just came to a head where I just couldn't continue like that anymore. So it's becoming aware of who I was,
Mm-hmm.
where my actions and behaviors and thoughts came from.
Mm-hmm.
And then, developing some more positive strategies around how to deal with those sorts of things, but also how to, I guess, that inner reserve,
Mm-hmm.
a change in mindset
Mm-hmm.
as to how I approach things,
Yeah.
and that self-talk,
Yes.
that was a huge one.
Yes.
The way that I speak to myself, I would never speak to another
Yeah.
person the way that, I would speak to myself. And so it was becoming aware of a lot of those things, and how they impacted
Yes.
all areas of my life.
Yes. And when you're sharing that, I was just thinking about how it resonates with me because all of us go through some point in our life where, we find ourselves to be overwhelmed and we are not handling things the way we could, probably in a better way. And we all go through that. So we all have mental health challenges are not something happening to only specific people or is happening in isolation. We all go through periods of that. And through that comes that journey of self discovery, and learning to put yourself first and your needs first. So, absolutely. I mean, I could connect and resonate with everything you are telling me. So what have you found, especially in terms of middle leadership, because I know that's another passion of yours. What do you find in terms of middle leadership, its challenges and with mental health challenges? What are your thoughts around the two together?
I think I guess to get to that middle leadership point, there was a lot of, I had to challenge like the
Mm,
stigma, I
mm-hmm,
suppose, around mental
mm-hmm,
health. A lot of my feelings were shame
mm-hmm.
driven, and as being a failure, couldn't cope, wasn't good enough, all of those things that are shame driven, and the belief that um, people, I didn't want to be a
Mm,
burden on
mm-hmm.
people. And so, you don't
Yeah.
share any of that when that's not true at all. So we do know that the people who love us want us to reach out to them and want us to be open and vulnerable. And that was probably another really huge lesson for me, was that being open and vulnerable, taking that risk that things may not
Yeah.
work out the way that I wanted them to work out. But in doing so, I've actually connected and become a lot
Yeah.
closer, to the people around me, and to colleagues and people that I meet. I guess when you hold everything in, you really do create that barrier between you and other
Mm,
people. So when we get to that middle leadership aspect, again, that was really a huge
Mm.
mindset barrier for me was that I felt that to be a leader, I needed a
Yep.
title. I needed a position and I needed a badge that said that I was a leader. So that was that huge mind shift and I didn't believe anyone would see me as a leader without
Mm.
those things. And I didn't see myself as a leader without those things. So of course, no one else is going to see me as a
Mm.
leader. So I guess that was the
Yep.
biggest barrier that I had to overcome was my own mindset and beliefs around that. And then just taking ownership of, I guess, my professional learning, the direction I was heading, where I wanted to go, developing initially it started with that Twitter
Mm.
network, so connecting with
Mm.
other people, and then connecting with
Mm.
my colleagues at school, and modeling the things that as a person who needs a sense of belonging and connection, modeling those things, with the other people, and being the person that initiated that and tried to
Mm.
cultivate that. And I think, I've had lots of opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't have
Mm.
taken that step. And I really believe that when you do those things, when you initiate, when you cultivate, when
Mm.
you connect, to me
Yep.
that's leadership, and that's where you develop that positive network and support system and work with others
Yes.
in a lot more of a
Couldn't
productive
have said
way.
it better myself. So in that initiatives you were just talking about, I guess one of the initiatives you have taken is to do the diploma of positive psychology and well-being. So tell us about when did you decide and how has that helped you in your journey or your work?
So it started
Mm-hmm.
in February
Mm-hmm.
this year. It's a 12
Mm-hmm.
goes over 12 months. I had seen it
Mm-hmm.
on social media,
Mm-hmm.
probably on LinkedIn. I'd seen the people I
Mm-hmm.
was connected with posting about it, and then when I sort of read into it, it just really resonated with me and really appealed to me as to what you were studying, the content that you were studying. And as we've
Mm-hmm.
gone through the course, I've realized that a lot of the things that we talk about for positive psychology, the strategies and the theories and the actions, are things that I
Yeah.
had already done. I just didn't have a name. I didn't have a name for them, and I didn't realize that there was, science behind it. But it was things that I suppose, I'd come to on my own. So it's helping me have that deeper understanding of what all
Mm-hmm.
those strategies are, and then using that not only for myself. So we start with
Mm-hmm.
looking at yourself first with the course,
Yep.
doing a lot of that self reflection and applying the strategies to yourself,
Yep.
and then how do you broaden that, and start to apply
Yep.
it in other areas of your life, and how possibly would you then use that moving forward. So it's really been a great learning experience, and I can use it with students, I can use it with colleagues, I can use it with my family. So there's all aspects that it's having
Yep.
a big impact
And one
on.
other thing where I think I connected with you very well is the national and international professional network you have built through your interactions on LinkedIn and Twitter. And that's something you have done by yourself and you have taken initiative of in that, and something very similar to my journey here as well. Um, and you've talked a little bit about how that has helped you in your journey and helped you in finding your identity as well. Were there any challenges you faced as part of that, or and how did you find that whole process?
Um, I don't think there really has
Mm-hmm.
been any challenges. I think the biggest thing to overcome, I think, is that you go,
Mm.
oh, I can't connect with that person, or I can't talk to that person. They're an author, or they're this, or they're that.
Mm.
But they're just a
Yes.
person, just like the rest of us. And at the end of the day, and this is probably something that I've had to learn as well, is what's the worst that can happen? They go,
Yep.
no, not interested, or oh no, thanks, but no thanks. And there's no
Mm.
huge
Mm.
downside to that, really. It's just, okay, well, it's
Mm.
just not meant to be. So I think, there haven't really been, I've been very lucky touch wood, that
Yeah.
I haven't had really any sort of negative interactions or anything through social media. I've managed, I haven't had
Mm,
trolling or any of those sorts of, comments. Possibly I don't have a big enough profile for that, so which is fine. But yeah, so I've been lucky in that way. It really has only been positive for me. I haven't had
yeah.
any
And I
negatives from
completely
it.
agree with that. Like, because I'm on a similar journey, and I think what has helped me is um, being intentional with every network I have, with every connection I form, and with every networking I do, and also not worrying about the numbers or, the likes or the comments or any of that, because
Mm,
that will happen when it happens, or doesn't happen, doesn't matter. But it's just about putting yourself out there and sharing that what you want to share, and then building those connections. So I think that has really helped me. And I think, as you said, touch wood, I haven't had much
mm,
trolling or anything of that as well. And I think all those things have really helped us build this positive network, in a way, which is how we both connected. So which is great as well, to do that. Like,
yeah.
Karen, we are coming towards the close of our session today. So, this is a special episode for Liptember, and I have been doing Liptember for the last couple of years. So, as a wrap up, is there a special message you would like our audience to get from you today in terms of mental health challenges, in terms of the stigma, in terms of what people can do or need to be doing, or anything like that that you would want to put out today?
I think you're not alone. I do believe that we tend to think we're the only ones feeling the way that we're feeling, or going, not necessarily going through what we're going through, but that other people won't understand, or other people aren't
Mm,
interested. That was probably my biggest thing, was
mm,
not, no one wants to hear about
mm,
that. Like, but they do. You're not alone. There are people that want to help, and don't suffer in silence. I really do think
mm,
that you need
mm,
to be open, you need to be vulnerable. And that, to me, that's the that had the biggest
yeah.
impact on helping me move past it, and
Yeah.
grow from the experience, rather than it being
Mm.
a huge negative
Beautiful,
experience in my
Karen.
life.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Your dedication to education and your focus on emotional intelligence, connection, and personal growth is truly commendable. I'm sure our viewers will find your insights valuable. If you do want to connect with Karen, she is available on LinkedIn and Twitter, and you can find her easily. Please do connect, because as one of the things of September is being the voice and being talking about it and having a conversation. That's the whole idea of Bright Lips every single day of the month, is having that conversation and being a conversation starter. So be the conversation starter. Reach out to myself and Karen and be the conversation starter, and let us work through this journey together. Thank you.
Thanks so much.